Today we're changing the brakes on this GLC 300, doing the rear brakes. So first, it has an electronic parking brake. You have to disengage that in the engineering menu. How to put the rear brakes into the fitting position. This car has an electronic parking brake, so if you don't, you run the risk of royally screwing something up. So first, turn the car on once, press the ignition once without your foot on the brake, press answer call and OK. Make sure you go to the odometer menu, press and hold answer call and OK until you get to the engineering menu. Once you're in the engineering menu, first you want to release the parking brake. So you go here. And now go to brake pad replace. Press OK to move it to the fitting position. And you can hear. And you just heard the mechanism releasing. So now the brakes are in the fitting position and you can manipulate and move the caliper back and forth without, or press the caliper back to receive the new brakes without worrying about screwing something up. Also, because the car is rear wheel drive, make sure you have chocks under the front wheels. And to release the fitting position, and when you're done to release it from the fitting position, all you do is you come back to the engineering menu and you press OK. The brakes are out of the fitting position, and you go here and the park brake is set. I lifted up the car from the rear differential right here, right there. It's a good center jacking point if you're not on a lift, and it's made to take the weight, but to make sure that you don't scratch your diff, you can use a block of wood. I use this old notepad. It's the same thing. It just keeps it from scratching and keeps the differential safe. And then on where the lift points are, passenger and driver side, we have the jack stands. And I also noticed this wheel right here. The tires on the rear are very bald. Not very bald, but they will need to be replaced soon. You can see the tread right here, and you can see the belts right here. So this could possibly lead to a catastrophic failure, blowout, or a really bad morning. But that needs to be replaced soon. And now let's start with driver's side and getting these lug bolts off because it's a German car. Now, you're about to observe some very impressive technique here with many cars. The wheels, after a while, they get stuck on. Well, not stuck, but they get stuck on. So I'm going to show you an incredibly technical process. Well, this one's not. But generally, if the wheel is stuck, turn around, give it a good mule kick, and it should come off. But this one is already ready to come off. And you see that right there? This tire needs to be replaced. This one is at the end of its life. For this next part, make sure you're wearing your safety goggles. We're going to take off this anti-rattle spring. Now on some cars, it's under a lot of tension and it can fly off. So always make sure you're wearing your safety goggles. Bad things can happen. So you stick your screwdriver in here. Once again, safety goggles are important. You press it out like this, you get behind it, you fly off. That was mild. Generally, it won't be exciting. You have, behind here, you have these caliper pins, and they have these little plastic pieces on them. And they're held in by some hex nuts. Now we have our H7 hex bolt. Some people might call it an Allen key. And we just break it loose. Got the top one here. Now you don't need to pull these pins all the way out. You can let them stay in the caliper so that way you can find them when it's time to put everything back together. Just let them chill here for a bit and use the screwdriver to push them back. Threads. So you don't want it skipping across the threads, but there we go. So now caliper should. Oh, I forgot an important step. That's to use your screwdriver to compress the pad into the caliper so you can get your brakes out like that. Now, you never, ever, 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 ever want the caliper to just hang. It's too heavy and you'll end up breaking something. Completely removing the purpose of a DIY repair. So you can let it sit here, but don't just let it hang by its dead weight. Take this caliper out, and now we have to go get a vise and push this all the way back into its casing. Okay, so now you take this vise, so you put your brake in here, and you never want to just press on the piston. So you take the brake, you take your caliper or your vise, and while you do this, make sure you don't pull on the brake lines. You line it up here like so. We may have a problem. If this method doesn't work, because this thing is huge because of the electronic parking brake, you have to go with method number 2. You can try A, going with your hands. And if that doesn't work, you put your brakes back on. Screw everything back in slightly. This is one of the few times you'll ever hear this, but it does not have to be tight. Take your screwdriver again, and you pull. You want to be careful not to damage the rotor, but you do want to get nice and in there. You can either look and see the rotor, the caliper compressing, or you can just keep trying until it fits. So, I think that'll do. We can come out again. Yep. Pull that one out. That's a compressed caliper. Okay, that's how it should be. Now I'm just gonna let this rest right here, and get brakes. Now, another important notice, you'll have this little hole right here. That's for your brake wear sensor. This side doesn't have the brake wear sensor. We'll worry about that on the other side. So you put your brake pad in here, like so. Put the other pad in here, like so. You can tell this one goes on the inside because it has these little springs here. You take your caliper, you put it, push your pins in right on top. And then the good thing, sometimes during your brake replacement, you might bend these out of shape. So the brakes that I bought, you pins. So now you put your brake on like this. Now this time it better be tight. And the good thing is you can see when it's tight, because the pin will make contact. The retaining pin will make contact with the caliper. The bracket. And I somehow switched the direction of the ratchet. Tight. Swing this one in a little bit. Give it a little push first off. And begin tightening. Put your caps back on. Now you're gonna have a little bit of movement until you press the brakes, because the piston isn't actually making contact, so there's a little bit of movement. That's fine. Let me take this out just to make sure I got it tight. Yep, that one's good. This one's good. And because we actually have new springs, let's use our new springs. So you want these two pins, these pieces right here going, this goes in these holes and then this goes around. So it's kind of a pain, but and this is why you wear eye protection, because now this part, these are really tight springs, so if you're not careful, it will go flying. Please, 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 please use eye protection. It's important. And just like that, you've changed your brakes. Sometimes these are a little bit tighter than others, but as you can see, I can pull on this and it's not going anywhere. So that's this side, and I'll show you the sensor on the other side. And don't forget these little dust caps. Perfect. This is the brake pad sensor. It tells you when your brakes are low, and on this car it'll give you a little alert in the dashboard. This thing is not reusable, so you have to make sure you buy another one. So it doesn't matter if you completely destroy pulling it out, but I've got to pull this out so I can massage the caliper back. Got. This is incredibly complicated. So pay close attention. This is how you replace the brake pad sensor. See this hole right here? The sensor. Put it in. I did it backwards. See? Told you it was complicated. Put it in. Press it down. Now, it's important, and that's how you replace it. Now, it's important that you actually replace this sensor. So you can see this one completely wore out. This is where it was. So when the brake pad wears down enough, it's going to break the plastic and cause that thing to rub, causing your error message. Now, if you don't replace the sensor, even though you have new brakes, the car will still say replace my brakes.
It's important. So now it won't say you have no brakes. Let's continue.
As you can see, caliper brakes are all on. Now all you do is plug this in and you continue reassembly just like the other side.